to another edition of our Cubs Recap Podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcast with my partner, Gordon Wittenmeyer. I'm David Kaplan. Gordon, let's get right into it. Cubs are playing good baseball despite more injuries. They've got Bellinger out. They've got Suzuki out. They've got Justin Steele out, although it looks like he's on his way back. They've got Kyle Hendricks out. They've got Julian Merriweather out. They are banged up beyond banged up, and their bullpen has not been great. That all said, 19 and 13, and I believe they are a game and a half out of first, with 3 with Milwaukee at Wrigley Field starting Friday afternoon.
Yeah, how about that series?
Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. Should be a hell of a series, man.
The only thing better would be if it was in Milwaukee, so you could boo the hell out of Council.
That'd be hilarious.
Place would be full. Place would be as alive as any series in baseball this year. And that's coming. It's coming at the end of the month.
So let's start with the overall month of April, and then we can get into some of the minutia that's pretty interesting. 19 wins. I believe they had 18 in the month of April. Then they picked up a win on Wednesday, which made it 19. Cubs are playing really, really well for all the injuries and all the underperformance by the bullpen. They're finding ways to win baseball games.
You know what this is about, Cap? We've talked about it before. This was the bitch we had coming into the season, that they didn't do enough to bolster their starting staff. That was mine anyway. And we were talking when Steele got hurt, we were talking, why don't they go get Jordan Montgomery on a short
And
deal?
I was the guy that didn't want him, but I wanted more bullpen help.
Okay, but we wanted more pitching. And what have we seen, right? We've seen this is a clinic that the Cubs have. This is exhibit A of what baseball is, how important starting pitching is to baseball, to winning baseball games. Because as you aptly pointed out, they got guys left and right, banged up on the IL. Key guys from the lineup, key guys from the pitching staff on the IL, and they've been able to survive 100% because the starting pitchers, for the most part, have done the job. Where they've had their breakdowns and losses that maybe shouldn't have been losses, again, are about pitching, right? And we go back to that blown 8-0 lead and some of the others. The bullpen, I wouldn't trust this bullpen with a game on the line against anybody. You're 0-4 in walk-offs. You're 1-3 in extra inning games. That's just the example of how much, when the game is on the line, what happens with the bullpen at the end of the game. But the starting pitchers, man, Shota Imanaga right now is looking like an all-star starter. If he comes anything close to keeping this up.
He's making history. No one since 1901 has struck out in his first 4 starts, 28 or more, and had an ERA under 1. Now he's 5-0, and he struck out 35.
Yeah, and they've won all 6 of his games. And part of that's he's going deep, and he hadn't given up more than a run in any of them, and he's going deep in all of them. Well, except he had a rain shortened one. So that's obviously huge. He became the guy that we didn't know. He was a wild card going in. He hadn't pitched in this league before. There were some good scouting reports. Dan Evans gave us a great scouting report on this podcast.
He liked him, remember?
Which is coming true. His scouting report. So we didn't know which way it would go. Now we've got an idea which way it's gone, which is obviously a good thing. But how about this, man? Assad, 32 innings, 7 earned runs allowed in his 6 starts. Tyone is back. He's only made 3 starts, but he's only given up 3 runs in 18 innings. Those 3 guys, Assad, Imanaga, Tyone, we're talking 13 starts, which is what 13 out of 32, 84 and 2/3 innings. They got a 1.38 ERA combined, and they're 9-0 in decisions. And you throw Ben Brown in there, he's only made 4 starts. It's another 19 innings. He's got a 2.84 ERA, and you're still talking about a 1.65 ERA between the 4 of those guys. So that's what's doing it. It's allowed you to survive what happened with Kyle Hendricks, and it's allowed you to get through what's gone on with the bullpen, and obviously the Justin Steele injury. But the lineup's been, I wouldn't go so far as to say inconsistent, because there's been some bright spots in there even with the injuries. But the defense hasn't been quite as stout as you maybe expected. But the starting pitching has been there at least often enough that this team is playing for first place this weekend.
So it's going to be a great series with the Brewers. We'll get to that in a minute. Wednesday night. So the Cubs win on, let's see, they win on Monday. They lose on Tuesday, I think. Do I have that right? Did they win Monday? Lose
the other? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's correct. On Monday night, they're getting no hit in the 8th. And then they take Edwin Diaz way up and way out because he was pitching behind in the count 3-1, and Morel hits a bomb. 2-run jack. Cubs win. They lose the next day, 4-2, tight ball game, got beat. And then it's a 1-0 game. We go to the bottom of the 9th inning, and with men on, it was a fly ball with 1 out. Pete Alonso at third. Why they didn't have a pinch runner in for him, I will never know. I'm faster than he is.
And I'm not sure who they had on their bench. Well, they're also thinking, I assume they're thinking, if you tie the game, you want his bat still in the lineup.
You do, but you got to get the game tied. Yeah. Sack fly to left. Ian Happ makes a perfect throw to Nick Madrigal, who basically catches it in the air, turns and fires a pill to a Miguel Amaya. Bam! Got him at the plate. Mets challenge both the blocking of the plate and the tag play. And even the SNY broadcast, Ron Darling, Gary Cohn, the guys said, you can see his hand is up in the air. He didn't get it down on the plate. And the umpire came out. I thought the umpire did a terrible job of communicating. He comes out, he goes, gives you a safe sign, and then he goes, we have no blocking, and the call on the field stands. The batter is out. The game is over. What?
Well, that's after the long replay.
Yeah, the forever replay. Correct.
Right. So his hand goes up. By the way, if his hand doesn't go up, he's safe because he beat that throw. So his hand goes up, and then it comes down in the dust, right? We think it's down on the plate. By then, we think he's tagged too. But you can thank your boys on the south side, Cap, for this one, because he's safe on that replay if they're playing by last year's rules. You know the story behind this?
But I'll let you explain it.
This goes back to June last year when the White Sox were playing the Rangers in Texas, and Elvis Andrew scores in the 8th inning, the go-ahead run on almost exactly the same type of play at the plate. So he gets in. Just like Amaya, Jonah Heim has 1 foot on the plate, but there's a path to score. Like, he's not blocking.
I remember this game because Jonah Heim, didn't he get the game when he hit the next day?
He might have.
I think he did.
So by the letter of the rule, that's a place your foot is not allowed to be if you're the catcher before the ball gets there.
Mm-hmm.
So by the letter of the rule, when they went to replay on that, so Elvis Andrews he was tagged out on the play. It looked like that was it. They rule that the plate was blocked by letter of the law.
And on the Heim play.
Yes, and they rule him safe. Bochy goes crazy. He gets ejected. Heim stays in the game, but he's beside himself. Nobody thinks that's the right call. Nobody. To the degree that this went into the offseason, and they discussed it during the offseason, and Major League Baseball sent a memo to all teams using that play as an example, that as long, whatever that rule says, if there's a path to the plate, that play is okay. And because of that memo, that's why the call stood for the Cubs on Wednesday night.
Thank you, Sox. Like Jason Benetti now with the Tigers. Remember when Eloy hit the home run? Thanks, Cubs. I'll say on last night's win. Thanks, Sox.
Talk to your guy, Hoodie. Tell him his boys did something right for your guys.
There you go. So, all right. So the Cubs win that game 1-0. I was out with our friend Jesse Rogers. He went to dinner with a friend. They called, say, hey, come watch the game with us. So we're sitting at a place, great spot called the Landmark in Northbrook outside. And there's a big screen TV on the wall. And the place is packed. And I come from after having dinner with my son, Brett, I come sit there and the whole restaurant is scope locked on the 9th inning. And when they come out and they have the review, you hear people at different tables. No way. He's safe. He's this, he's that. And when they come out and they go, the call stands out. People started singing Go Cubs Go.
Oh, no way.
Restaurant on the patio.
Oh,
It's
man.
unbelievable that people really like this team. They do.
Let me ask you something, Cap. We talked about Kyle Hendricks a few times on this podcast. We talked about him coming into the season, him being an important piece of this team, and we talked about him struggling, and we talked a little bit about, I don't know whether this is the end for him. For the team, for the fans, for whatever this next iteration, this next generation of a competitive Cubs team is, where, I don't want to say this wrong, but is there any value at all in not playing out Hendricks in some sort of agonizing way if he doesn't look? In other words, would there be any benefit to moving on if he doesn't just click it into place fairly quickly with this rehab assignment? The rehab assignment starts, I believe, as we're taping.
Yeah, tonight. He pitches tonight for the Tennessee Smokies.
I mean, I ask you because you have a lot of emotional stake in this in a way that I don't, although I like Kyle a lot.
Yeah, I've gotten to have a good relationship with Kyle and his family. I've been around there so long, as have you, and Kyle's just been a great, great person to deal with. Look, if he goes and gets lit up at Double-A tonight, you send him back out for another rehab assignment. If heaven forbid that didn't go well, I mean, I would think if it doesn't work and he can't pitch anymore, he doesn't want to hang on. He's getting his money. What's the point of hanging on? Now, if he shows you, he looked a little better, you give him every chance in the world to make it until he says, guys, I'm done. That's the way I would get.
And I certainly wouldn't advocate cutting ties with this guy. He's such a quality person and a quality baseball guy, pitching guy. If he wants to, he could be as much value to your organization for years and years and years as you would want. But I just wonder, listening to that scene that you described reminded me of how people are plugging back into this team.
Yeah.
Which we haven't seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
People have been rightfully so kind of ticked off at what's been going on. And so I just wonder if, he's the last connection and a lot of that anger and bitterness in recent years was the way, not only that team kind of declined so quickly, but also the way that the pandemic conspired with that to create this purge, and then another rebuild, and people were all ticked off at that. So I almost wonder if a full, just full disconnection, just cut the cord completely with the past. I just wonder. I'm not advocating anything, but you're the guy that's the fan. You're the guy that was at that scene, describing that scene. It just makes me wonder if that's better is the wrong word, but more satisfying, gratifying, a fresher start. I don't know.
Yeah, I would just let this play out and see if he can be salvaged, because he's a Cub, man, and that's where he wants to be.
Oh man, he goes down in history no matter what.
No matter what.
All timers.
Okay, so the Cubs take 2 and lose 2 to the Mets. Now the Brewers come in on Friday. They're a good baseball team. They are. The Cubs are a good baseball team. Again, I hate to put too much into a May 3rd, 4th, 5th series, but this is an important series. You got to go out and play really good baseball.
I think there's some people who are going to put a lot into it. I think
No
a
doubt
lot of people, especially the ones north of the state line, those guys, there's a lot of people in that clubhouse and certainly in their fan base that want to see them come in and just smoke the Cubs in a way that they haven't wanted that in years. And we know how much they've wanted it in recent years. And then, Counsell is not going to say it, but, he's got some pride on the line too. And he's taken a lot of crap from people up north, essentially his home. And so, he's got something on the line too. I don't know how many other Cubs feel the same way, but the Brewers are going to come in pretty incentivized, I would think.
Cubs are 19-13. Brewers are 19-11. So 1 game up on the Chicago Cubs as they begin play tomorrow. Now the pitching matchups tomorrow, the Brewers Cubs, it'll be Ross against Wisniewski. It's an interesting matchup. Ross is 1-3 with a 5.40. Wisniewski 2-0 with a 0.97. But again, he did not start with the club out of spring training. The second game is Jameson Taillon, who's been outstanding, 2-0 with a 150 since he came back from injury against Myers. And then on Sunday, the series finale, and again, they're all day games at Wrigley Field. It's Peralta against Assad. And how about this stat? Since June 20th, I believe, of last year, Javier Assad, with pitchers with a minimum of 100 innings pitched, has the lowest ERA of any pitcher in baseball.
How about this, man? You know what you're telling me? What if Assad and Imanaga both make the All-Star team this year?
That would be insane.
That's not crazy, but it sure as hell would sound crazy if we were talking in March.
Right.
If you said, hey, man, the Cubs are going to have 2 pitchers make the All-Star team this year, how long would it take us to guess? We might come up with Imanaga because that might be just a guess, right? A stab.
Maybe, but we would have said the other one was Justin Steele.
Would have said Steele for sure, and then it would be which is the other one. We might have said Hendricks because he's going to come back healthy. We
certainly wouldn't have put Assad there.
Might have said Neris because he's going to get all kinds of opportunities to save games. Might have said Alzolay because we like how he looked. We wouldn't have said Assad.
Never.
It's crazy.
Now Alzolay you can't trust at all. Steele hasn't pitched other than the start of the season when he got hurt in the first game. And here's Assad and Imanaga have just been sensational.
If they win this series against Milwaukee, so they'll do it without Imanaga, they'll at least be tied for first place coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And then they haven't seen Imanaga yet. And they got the big series up there where Counsell is going to just fire up the crowd just by showing up. And Imanaga might be in that one. It's. I know that the Cubs have not looked at the Brewers as, any sort of rivals, certainly historically, even in recent years, it's always been fueled more by Milwaukee. But with Counsell in-house, man, that changes things. And it's going to feel like it.
It's going to be super cool. It will be super cool.
Oh, man. A lot more, and a lot more than the Cardinals these days. The Cardinals are like a non-factor right now.
Right. They're not good, but that's always been the Cubs' rival. I remember asking Michael Jordan, I said, okay, Chicago Stadium, United Center, 20-some thousand people, and they're all cheering for you, basically. How much do you like playing at home versus playing on the road? Fully expecting him to say to me, oh, it's the best. He said, look, it's fun playing at home. We got the greatest fan base. It's massive at the United Center, blah, blah, blah. He said, Cap, there is nothing like going into an opposing stadium and shutting 20,000 plus up. It's the greatest. And
you know what?
Can you imagine if you go into Milwaukee, if you're Craig Counsell and your guys beat their ass? Oh, it'd be amazing.
And you know what? Guys like that, it goes without saying, right? I mean, it's Michael friggin' Jordan. That's how you win. Guys like that are why teams win.
Yes.
You go look back at the Cubs teams that went to those 3 straight LCSs. They had a few guys in the clubhouse like that. They had a few. Some of the veteran guys they brought in. John Lester was certainly a guy like that.
No question. Even Rizzo was a guy like that.
Yeah. And then when they brought Lackey in, I think Lackey loved getting booed. I don't think he cared who was booing him.
He didn't. I still remember walking in and introducing myself to him, and he said, "Okay, you do the pre and the post game. Okay, well, you could talk to me 4 out of 5 days. On the 5th day, stay the hell out of my way." Okay, I got the message. And then when he said, "I didn't come here for a haircut. I came here to get for jewelry. Let's get it on." And I'm like,
yeah,
all in. Let's go.
Yeah, I had. I don't want to say too much on this, but I ran into him in a bar on the road one time, and that's a legit personality. That's not fake. Let me just put it that way.
He's that guy.
He's that guy.
He is that dude. All right, so let's end on this. The Cubs need bullpen help. We've been talking about this. Nobody's trading you Mason Miller right now unless you gave them such an insane deal because the A's are in the race.
Yeah.
You'd have to say, here's Cade Horton and Pete, and no one's doing that. So how do you address the bullpen so it does not become a detriment where you wake up June 9th and go, son of a, we're 6 games back because we blew 9 games.
Yeah, dude, I knew you were going to ask me this. So I gave this some thought today because that bullpen does need an enema in a big way.
It does.
And their numbers back it up. They suck. They're bottom 4. I mean, if you go by whatever Fangraphs puts into its little blender and comes up with WAR, they're bottom 3 or 4 in baseball. And that was before giving up runs in the 11th today, and also giving up. I'm trying to think how many of those runs were earned off at Thompson, but it was a couple. Anyway, the point being, they definitely need some help. And there was a reason why I didn't go down the road on the bullpen too much, and I was focusing on the starting rotation against all odds has pulled this team's ass out of the fire for the first 30-something games. And again, that's huge. They might just have to live with it. I've told you this before. There's no market out there to go ahead and make waiver claims. Go ahead and see if there's cheap free agents, and you want to throw one at a time, a guy in there, roll the dice with a new guy here and there. Go ahead. But I would, and this is where I go back to you, Cap, and the stuff you've been. I would, if I'm Jed. It's May. It's early May, first week of May. I would start making phone calls, not because I think I'm going to get anything done, but there's going to be a lot of teams that are going after relief pitchers by the time that deadline comes. By the time June rolls around, there's going to be a lot of teams identifying that as a big need. The Baltimore Orioles, the young juggernaut Orioles, already are identifying that as a need. There's a lot of teams that are going to be in that boat. So I would be on the phone proactively identifying some of the teams that may be sellers. And I wouldn't necessarily drop names on them. I wouldn't be saying I want Mason Wynn because I don't want to betray my hand necessarily, but I'd be calling everybody.
Yep.
Everybody looks like they might be a seller and saying, do not forget about me. I'm serious. I've got some serious plans this season. And if you're going to deal with anybody, I want to make sure you're dealing with me when the time comes. Correct.
Before you make a move, I've got a great farm system. I'm willing to take on some payroll. You let me know.
I can play. I can play in this market. Make sure that you include me.
Right. I said today on the radio, I want to tell teams, hey, it's Jed. I know you're not ready to do something today, maybe, but guess what? I got prospects. I got an ability to take on money, and I am willing to play in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's I don't know how much I'd be telling them I'm willing to spend to do this deep end of the pool business, but I'm in play for everything. I'm open to everything. Keep me in mind. I'll compete.
100%.
Yeah.
Gordon, have a great rest of your day, man. Cubbies are rolling. Let's go.
All right, Kat. Good luck this weekend.
Have a great rest of your day. Appreciate you.
You too, man.
That is my partner, the great Gordon Wittenmeyer, and you can get us every week here on the Cubs Recap Podcast. At any time there's breaking news, we'll have an emergency podcast. It could be the middle of the night, and all of a sudden you go, what? The Cubs did what? We'll be here for you. Have a great rest of your day. Fly the freaking W, Cubbies. Let's go. Take that.